Hello and welcome back to the NUFC Opinion Blog, Springwell Social Club podcast, monthly podcast. This time with a very, very special guest. I've got here voice of the tune, former Newcastle United commentator Mick Lowes, here to talk about obviously the current situation at Newcastle. And I've also got a few other guests with me here just to ask any questions.
Watching the racing, by the way.
So I thought we'd start obviously with what's happened most recently at Newcastle United, of course, Aston Villa on Monday night. What do you think went wrong there?
I must admit, I'm down in the Midlands now, but I do listen to the build-up to the game on the BBC, and I just couldn't believe John Anderson was so optimistic about getting a result there, because we just don't score goals, and if you don't score goals, you don't win games. And I didn't see how that was going to suddenly change against Aston Villa, who, with the best will in the world, are no better or no worse than Newcastle over the first 3 months of the season. They'd lost a couple of games. Newcastle had won a couple of games, but they played much harder opposition than we had. So I didn't get the sort of optimism. And sure enough, the goals that were conceded were awful goals.
Set pieces.
Yeah, but at the same time, the thing that really upset me was people started having to go at defenders. And I just said afterwards, if you're a defender at Newcastle over the last, certainly this season, and even with Rafa, you're like the little Dutch kid with his finger in the dike. All you're doing is trying to keep goals out, while at the other end they're doing nothing at all. So, whatever back four, or whatever back five, or whatever back three it is, you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, we're keeping clean sheets and we're keeping us in games. But Almiron and Joe Linton and whoever are doing nothing at the other end. So whenever we let our guard down, and they did have an awful defensively, they had a really, really bad night against Villa, you're going to lose the game. But I wasn't going to criticise them, because I just thought sooner or later they will have a poor game, and you just know that at the other end nothing's going to happen.
So what sort of solution do you see to the attacking problems? Do you think
Drop them
and replace them with Andy Carroll or Dwight Gale?
It's a great point, because once upon a time I would have been absolutely 100% in favour of Andy Carroll and Dwight Gale. Dwight Gale, let's be honest, he scores goals at a certain level. He scores goals when he gets to the Championship, and then he doesn't. But can he be any worse than Almiron? No.
Certainly he's more of a natural finisher.
Andy Carroll has to be better than Joe Linton. And then you see Andy Carroll, and you think, actually no, he's not any better than Joe Linton. So I'm not sure what the solution to the problem is. I think against Manchester City, because it's a free hit, he might well think, okay, I can drop them, knowing that even if I drop them, I won't get criticised, because even if we lose the game, we lose to Man City. You don't lose to Watford, you don't lose to whoever, you lose to Man City, and it's expected anyway. So he may well drop them, but Andy Carroll, I love him to death. Dwight Gale is a difficult character. You wouldn't believe what goes on in that kid's head. But he's a goal scorer, and he's more of a goal scorer than Almiron. But actually, I'm not sure whether Carroll and Gale is a better alternative to Joe Linton and Almiron. So I don't know. I personally would drop them, but I don't think we're going to drop them for anything that might be an awful lot better.
Obviously there's then the forgotten man, Yoshinori Muto. Does he come into the situation at any point?
I remember Chris Waddle saying to me 3 or 4 years ago that if he was going to sign any players as a manager, and I agreed with it completely, you would sign Scandinavians who had a really good mentality, and the Japanese, and like the guy Son at Tottenham is a fantastic example. They have such a good work ethic. So you're looking at sort of like Southeast Asians and Scandinavians as the people who really do just put it in, But Muto, from what I've seen, I don't know.
He's never really had a good enough chance, has he?
No. But then again, you have to presume, because not so much you or me or anyone in this room, we don't know what they see on the training pitch. And you have to hope that if they see enough on the training pitch, they would think, okay, we put him in on Saturday. He's a good enough player. I can only think he's not a good enough player, and I've seen him representing his country, and he's okay. And they work hard, and they've got a good ethic, but are they good enough physically? Are they good enough technically? I'm not sure.
So obviously, with the front three not firing, the back, obviously, as I say, they were a bit leaky against Aston Villa, but obviously we have had our injury problems, of course. Lejeune and Shaw being out, but of course they are now both back available. Do they go straight back in for you?
I don't know. I mean, the one thing I would say is, in all honesty, I don't see them game in, game out. So, but I'm told that Kieran Clark has done quite well, and I've always, over the years, there's something about Kieran Clark I quite like. I mean, I know he went through a spell of scoring more own goals than the whole of the Premier League put together, but I think he's a good player. And ironically, off the back of the Villa result, everybody jumped on the fact that Lascelles wasn't playing, and that they were missing their leader, they were missing their giant, they were missing. I'm not a great Lascelles fan. I honestly don't think he is somebody who should be seen as the linchpin of Newcastle defensively.
The best centre back we have.
No. So I don't know. I mean, defensively, Clark's okay. Paul Dummett, I like Paul Dummett, but he was poor on Monday night. I just think it's difficult for players defensively to keep bailing out the superstars. I mean, if you're a player like X, Y, or Z, any one of those four defenders, if they are asking every week those defenders to stop conceding goals because the guys at the top of the pitch who are 40 million, 25 million, X million, and they've got the wages that go with it, you think, why should I bail these guys? After a while, they must say, why should I bail these guys out? They're not doing their job, so it's difficult.
What do you actually make of Fabian Schär? Because personally, I'd say he's the best centre back we have. But I mean, obviously, he's a very good ball player. Like you could even compare him to Virgil van Dijk. On the ball, he's a fantastic player. But does he? I don't know. Do it for you? Like defensively, obviously, in an attacking sense, he's certainly proven his worth.
Well, I think what they do more than anything these days, defenders, is they're ball players. They're not defenders. They are genuinely not defenders. So if you want, there was an instance on Monday night, I watched it, and Fernandes went eyeball to eyeball with their Brazilian Wesley, and Wesley scared the death out of him. And anyone who's played football, or anybody who knows football, you have confrontations on the pitch where you and whoever's marking you, or whoever is anywhere near you, you come in contact with him, and he scared him, And I don't see that with anybody Newcastle have. I don't see anybody scaring anybody else,